Okay. Right. So again, with Wycoff theory, the intent of our teachings was not to just give you definitions of what the preliminary supply is, what the selling climax is, selling test, etc. Because that serves no purpose for anyone, because you can do that for free by yourself. So what we really wanted to show you was our applications and trades we have taken. So what I want to do in this small section is give you the logic and give you how we, I've already given you like what is going on, what is the interactions that are taking place, what is the cause and effect of each thing. Now I'm going to show you a bit more of the logic and the sequence and a bit more about the pattern. And then next week, we're going to show you the entry criteria and how to read them. Like, for example, if I'm just showing you here, this part, you don't know if that's an accumulation. All you're seeing is a low and then a new low with a shallow retracement. That's all you're seeing right now. And then we move across a little bit more. You can see potentially that's a bullish break of structure. You might be thinking, okay, do I look for a buy? You can get a lot of confusion when it comes to a schematic or potential schematics. You could start to be thinking, let me zoom in a little bit more. You can start to think, okay, is this an accumulation? This is one touch, this is one drive, this is my spring. Is that a test? And then you could be confused and thinking, should I be buying here? Because we took out this minor piece of structure. We had this bullish movement with this high and then this high. There can be a lot of confusion when it comes to all of this, especially if you're new and especially if you have no experience. You're going to start to see or guessing and speculating accumulations everywhere. And that is a major problem that I want you guys to avoid. And that's what the process of our teaching is. It's not just to show you what Wycoff is, because you can do that yourself. It's actually how to apply it correctly, which is through the refinements we have. When it comes to, for example, misreading a schematic or how you should read it correctly in live candle by candle play, that's for next week. But for today, what I want to show you is complete schematics, so you can actually get the bigger picture first, and then we'll do play-by-play analysis next week, because I think that's the more logical way for you guys to learn properly. But again, I know a lot of you are very eager, and you think, I don't know why you don't think, but there are further sections coming. We have a lot more to teach still, so don't panic. We will get to everything. Just try and follow the structure of the lessons we have and follow the flow we have, because a lot of the questions you are having today or that you had yesterday have already been answered, and a lot of the new questions you're getting will be answered in the following days. So if you have any questions, just write them down. We'll get back to them for the allocated sessions we have for them. But okay, when it comes to a schematic, first of all, what do we need to understand? Like I was saying about the car and the motorway, that car, if that's going at 100 miles per hour, eventually with air resistance and friction, that will become 70 miles per hour, that will become 30 miles per hour, 10, and then it will stop. That's just normal. That's how, physics is. When it comes to the market, you can expect a similar thing, as I was saying, because you might have heavy bearish momentum, strong sellers in the market, and shallow retracements and heavy impulses. But eventually, because now we are getting to cheaper price points, buyers will be coming into the market. Complex pullback and then new low. But that does not mean sellers out of the market. All you're going to start seeing is buyers being introduced into the market because we're at a cheaper price point. So that is the first thing that we can appreciate. After a strong sell-off, we can start to anticipate buyers coming into the market. Now, we don't know right now if those buyers have any strength. We don't know if those buyers are going to, cause a reaction, cause a retracement, or if they're just going to fail, and that would be a redistribution. We don't know that right now. All we can appreciate at this point in time is there are going to be buyers coming into the market after a sell-off, number one. And number two is those sellers that caused this movement down, they are going to want to be taking partials out and closing out profit. Therefore, or as a result of taking profit or taking partials, they become buyers, because that's how they close out contracts. So as a result of that, what can we see? We can see impulse, and then we see shallow retracement, like a 10% retracement. Now, what do we see? After that, we see an 80% retracement. After that, what do we see? A 100% or 95% retracement. That is showing to us what they call in Wycoff theory as a change in character, where you're not getting sustained lows, that are equal in strength, you're getting weaker impulses and stronger retracements. So you're starting to see actually a curve. That's what I'm doing in a different color. You're starting to see a curve from the lows. That means the strength of impulses are weakening, and you're also seeing a curve like this, which is showing increase in strength of your retracements. That's what you would call change in character. Essentially, the beginning of a schematic is a change in character, which is the stopping power of the cell, where we are going from an expansion to we are going from a trending market to a consolidating market. And what is going on inside that consolidation range? We are having interaction between buyers and sellers. So that is the intent of phase A. We are having that stopping power. How can we see that? We can see preliminary supply and selling climax. So your preliminary supply equals last lower low. It's your last lower low before a schematic. The retracement depth of that can still be shallow because that is still part of the trend. But after your preliminary supply, that is the termination of your trend. And now we enter the schematic. Now we enter the consolidation part. So next, what do we see? We see our selling climax. Selling climax in theory equals high volume. So if you had your volume profile over here, you'd see normal volume, something like this, and then you'd see a spike in your volume, and then the schematic would play out, etc. So what the indication of that is a spike in volume at your selling climax. In reality, I haven't found too much reliability in that. I'm just showing you what the theory states. There is a whole volume profile analysis of a whole schematic and what you should expect at each point. But from transitioning from theory and what the textbooks say, and in reality, what we have backtested and found, I haven't found true conclusive correlation. I know some people have and some people do. Maybe we've just misunderstood it, but we tried to make it work and it didn't really add anything to our trading. So we just kind of removed the volume profile. The only thing that we've kind of kept is the relationship between the spring and volume and the relationship between the selling climax and volume. So the relationship between the selling climax and volume is a high volume at selling climax. That's all you really want to look out for. But I don't look into that too much anyway. Next, okay, so that would terminate phase A. Now, in phase B, what is going on? Now it's a little bit different. So we've had our selling climax and AR, automatic rally. That is defining the range for us. That is defining the high side of the consolidation range or the range of the schematic. So between our AR and our selling climax, that defines the initial range, and therefore you can find your equilibrium points. This is your initial accumulation range. Those are your defining factors. Now we have entered phase B, and now we are starting to see some sort of interactions. I did that wrong, actually. My selling climax isn't there. My selling climax is here. That is the range. You have your range equilibrium, and your range is defined by the AR and selling climax. Okay, now when you have your phase B, you're going to have ST, and as Wally said, you can have multiple STs, but all we are seeing those as, all we are identifying it as, because the pattern doesn't matter. How many STs you have, or how, if it compares to the Google images, that doesn't matter. You need to think of the logic, because if you can correctly understand the logic, then you can correctly apply and trade it, therefore. So what the STs are really doing is, we are prices coming down, seeing if there is supply, seeing if there's demand. They are having interaction between buyers and sellers. They're trying to ladder in their orders, because as we spoke about when it's IFC, the formation of IFC is when one institution is putting in, for example, 1 million lots. one institution is pumping in a lot of orders into the market, hoping for a sell, for example. A distribution is a little bit different. An accumulation is a little bit different. Why? Because it's no longer just one institution. An accumulation now is multiple institutions putting in millions and millions and millions of lots together. So that's a manifestation or a digital footprint. As the IFC was a digital footprint of one institution putting in orders, an accumulation schematic is a digital footprint